I think emerging market corporate bonds for many people still an unknown, inefficient, exotic asset class. And I think in the current market circumstances, it's a really attractive asset class because it features both low duration, so low interest rate sensitivity, which is very important in a world where rates are extremely low and maybe rising. It has higher spreads, and above all, it's an inefficient market. And so in Vontobel, we believe that emerging market corporates is actually an active manager's paradise. And the plan for today on the next slide is actually, first of all, to introduce you to the asset class and why we believe it is an attractive asset class. And then secondly, give a little bit of flavor on how we invest into this asset class. And so if we go to the next slide, there you see the first reason, actually the valuations, so duration. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so on this slide, you see the duration versus the spread. So spread is the remuneration for the credit risk, and the green dots indicate emerging market bonds, both the sovereign, which have a little bit longer duration and are to the right on the chart, and then corporates, which are to the left of the chart. And as you can see, emerging market corporates, the lower green dot with a duration of around 5 years, is on average BBB- rated, so on average investment grade, 300 basis point spread, so more than 3 times as much as European investment grade, with actually a lower duration. Many people believe that emerging market corporates must be extremely risky and prefer to go to the sovereign index. But as I will comment a little bit later, actually the sovereign has a different type of risk. First of all, it is more risky in terms of interest rate risk, as you can see on the duration. But in fact, and contrary to many people's belief, it's also more risky on the credit side. And that is surprising to many people. But if you look at the average rating, the sovereign index actually has a lower rating, BB+, which is on average high yield. And the reason for this lower rating is in fact that the composition of the benchmarks is different. So in emerging market sovereign, you have more countries, more frontier countries, and therefore, for example, more African countries that are a little bit more risky. And the corporate index is biased towards the safer countries, the more credit-worthy countries, and therefore, due to the composition of the benchmark, has corporates of a higher credit quality. And finally, I want to also highlight especially the place of EM corporates in high yield, where in my view, you really have an anomaly, because you have here an index that has both a shorter duration, a higher spread, and a better rating than, or equal rating than, for example, European high yield or US high yield. So that is really very attractive in the current context of the low yielding world, where you get almost 5% spread, not yield, but spread for 4 years duration. Now, if you go to the next slide, one question that people may have is, of course, is that higher let's say, spread or remuneration for the credit risk, is that explained by higher default risk?